All right, let's move right along to Pascal doing a tutorial.
All right, yes. I tried to arrange to share my phone screen. So this might look awful if you have it in full screen mode. So depending on your Zoom app, you need to press escape and resize the window to actual phone size. So let's share my screen. I need to know if you can also see my mouse, my cursor.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool. Don't mind the recording video because it's actually a preview of the Quicktime player to record the screen. So this is not important here. All right. So as I said, maybe you need to press escape to get it to actual phone size. Good. Yeah, a few thoughts to start with, maybe. I've already published the corresponding article. I'll paste it in the chat right now, not for you to read it at the same time, but that I don't forget it afterwards. So some of you might already have read this, but hopefully only to have more questions and get an easier understanding of my live demo. I have new photos and I really did not try to make stereo photos from them before now, so it's really live. I will also skip alternatives that are mentioned in the article. As Kita said, it's iOS based on the iPhone, but all apps are available for Android as well and work quite similar, I think. And in general, we talk about sequential stereo photos if we're talking from the smartphone, about the smartphone. And of course, there are some drawbacks compared to a rig. And finally, before we start, this is an absolutely personal workflow. So based on personal preferences and experiences. So please feel absolutely free to ask why I do this or that in that way, and also to suggest alternatives. All right, what I don't show you now is how I take the photos. There is a great article on Stereosite by David Kunz, especially for beginners. We have a getting started section, and there is an article about how to get the right depth into your pictures. I'll show my phone here in my hand now, so you can look at the small picture, because the only thing that I want to say is that I always take a sequence of 3 to 5 photos, not only 2. I don't try to calculate the baseline. If I see something, I just make click, 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 and that's it. Because taking 3 or 5 photos has some advantages. I think this is having different baselines to choose from afterwards. So I can choose the amount of depth in my photos when I combine them to a stereo pair. And I have what has been important to me when I was new to taking stereo photos was that I could focus on the movement of my phone, because I did not need to look at the screen and think, oh, it has moved enough, now I have to click. I have just my finger ready to click, and then I just move my phone and try to do that very calm, so that I will get no rotation in it, as far as this is possible, of course. And if I have more than 2 photos, I may be able to prevent rivalries between 2 shots, so movement especially. Okay, what I do think of is if I take a normal stereo photo, like in the distance of a normal room, or if I take hyper of distant objects without any foreground, or if I take a close-up. Basically, for the beginners, if I take a normal stereo, it would be a movement like from here, if you look at my camera, to there, and I take click, 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 and that's it. If I take a close-up, it's only click, 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 click. And if it's a hyper, I'm walking several steps. So, but this is really the only thing that I'm thinking of if I take a stereo. And I always take them in landscape mode. I've discussed that several times with David, David, maybe you remember, you said, yes, it's better to have some area to crop. And the basic reason why I take always landscape mode is that I need to move the photos horizontally to adjust the stereo window. You'll see that later. But if you take upright photos, you have no possibility to move them. And so you are unable to adjust the stereo window afterwards. And if you want to adjust it, you have to crop also vertical. So if I have it in landscape, I don't need to crop anything vertically. But of course, I lose some parts of the image. All right, then the next thing that I do is have a look at my camera roll. I've created an album called VSC for today, and it looks like that. You have 4 or 5 pictures. In the end, I have, as you see, 66 photos. I have to add that the spider here was taken by my father, and this is a proof that this can be done, the process, with photos of someone who has absolutely no clue why the baseline is important, what the stereo window is. The only thing that I've told him is always shoot in landscape and take 3 to 5 photos. And that's what he does sometimes, and it works quite well. All right, so the first app that I use is i3D Steroid, or 3D Steroid for the Android users, which is the phone app of the Stereo Photo Maker that you might all know. If you start the app, you have first to choose open. Well, there is the possibility to take the photo right from this app, but as you might have noticed, I don't do this because if I have that interlaced view while I move the camera, for me, it's quite confusing. And I only have 2 images then and cannot switch. So what I do is click on the top left corner here to open the stereo image. And then I navigate to my gallery here. And what I do now to prevent some errors in choosing, I try to free view in the gallery in either a way that I shift one photo onto its neighbor, as we are all used to do if we are free viewing. But this gallery view lets me also shift the photo one more, so that I, for example, have these 2 that I've checked now and free view those. Or I can free view these. And that way, I can estimate the amount of depth already before I actually import them into Stereo Photo Maker.
Pascal, it's working that way because you're always moving the phone from left to right when you shoot them, but the gallery shows the most recent one first, right? Is that it?
Yes, but it doesn't matter if it's cross view or parallel view. I will still be able to estimate how much depth there is in it. So actually, for me, it's the wrong direction I'm moving, because now I see cross view. Or actually, I don't know. I just free view it, and then I think, oh, there's a little bit of depth, and there is more depth, and then by experience, I can pre-select. I don't have to really guess I can estimate something in advance.
One more question. I don't see how, when you check on the two images, how that is giving you a preview. All I see is two highlighted images.
Oh yes, that was only an example. But what I do is if I want to check if, let's see, these two are suitable, I free view them right now, as you would free view anything on Instagram, for example. And then I shift them once more. I have a new free view position, let's say. But I don't check them and try to free view them then. This was just for demonstrating which images I try to pair. Did you understand, David?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, all right. The next thing what I want to show you is let's take these ones. I did a little bit free viewing while I was talking to you, and then I click done. And what you may have tried already is doing the basic steps in i3D steroid. Now I see that I have to click the L and R icon, because for me it's the wrong view. I cannot cross view. So I have to check this. Yes, that seems to be parallel view. And what is essentially for my workflow is the magician's hat, the icon on the very left. Normally I only use this one. So this is basically what we all love of Stereophoto Maker, is the auto alignment function. I don't know how it's been done. It's some kind of magic for me as well, but it works really good. So, and that's it. What I do in this app, that's actually all I do, except some vertical cropping, which I want to show you afterwards. But what I do then is just save stereo image in the original resolution, and that's it. For some reason, I'm exporting it twice for now. I will explain that later. So for all of you who have Android phones or older iPhones, this might be something that you have to keep in mind, but you can read it in the article in detail. All right, what's a little bit annoying is that if I open another stereo image, I'm just repeating the process for you now to see what I'm doing. Let's take that view of my garden. This is a little further away. So let's try these two photos. It's cross view again. That looks good for me. I press the magician's hat and save it only once this time to give you a demo of how fast this works. I'll do one more photo. And I take the apple tree. Maybe this is close enough to have these two. It's cross view again. Well, in my opinion, it could be a little bit more depth. So let's take these ones. Actually, it would be a lie if I would tell you that I always have the right pairs. Sometimes I have to rethink that and open different ones.
Also, the pairs you want might not both be on the same line either.
Sorry, what, David?
Yeah, sometimes you've taken enough picture that it's on two lines. So what if you want one from the line above and a much farther view from the line below it? You can't preview that.
That's true. But still, I try to have the single shots equally distanced, so I can still see if I have picture number 1 and number 4 and it's too flat, I have still an idea where to search. But you are right, then it's just searching.
No, but we get the point though.
All right, so the auto adjustment. And what I want to show you also is when I need to do some cropping, I use this icon. It brings you in the adjust mode. And the important thing for my workflow is that you only crop vertical, not horizontally. So this is just for a demo. I think there is not much cropping necessary. And again, I save the stereo image, but only once. So that's it, what I do in i3D Steroid. And the next thing is I have to prepare the files for the further process. But I have to say that this is not always necessary. It's the following. What I do is dividing the two stereo images again, but this is only for reasons that the next app that I will use will have a maximum file size, a maximum resolution. And if I use those stereo images that were exported, then it could be that these are too large and will automatically be downsized. So that's why I take this intermediate step. What I want to show you is something that is especially practical on the iPhone. You can do something that is called shortcuts. You can write small scripts on your own, and I did one which is also available on Stereo site, right in the article. You can download it right onto your iPhone. And it's a command line that only divides stereo photos in the middle. So it's saved under recents. So you see, this one was exported twice, the spider. And this one I've done only once. So I have two photos like this, only for demonstration what you can do if you don't have the following possibility. What I can do here is I've inserted the shortcut into my system, and I can select just these two photos that I want to divide. Then I press the share button right on the bottom left, scroll down, and as you can see, I have something here called Divide Stereo Photos. I press it, it runs through, and it's done. I have to cancel everything. And as you can see, I have now 4 more photos. These are divided stereo pairs that are perfectly aligned and cropped in i3D Steroid. So these are ready to import into my next step, where I adjust the stereo window in a way that I find much more intuitive. Okay, if there are no questions in the chat. All right, let's switch into Photoshop Express. This is what I use is a paid version. It's about like $40 a year. For me, it pays out, but the adjustments that I will do now can also be done with any other apps. Maybe there will be a watermark or a max resolution that you will have to pay attention to. But I'm really fine with Photoshop Express, and I think most of what you have to do can be done with a free version of it too. So what I do now is I'll choose here the third icon to make my own collage. I choose the photos. As you can see here, the spider are actually 2 stereo photos that I did not divide. This is what you can also do, but this could exceed the max resolution of Photoshop Express. So I press next, and then I can choose if I want to have a horizontal layout like this now, or if I have a vertical layout, which is actually what we know as a side-by-side stereo. In the button menu, in the middle, you can also adjust a fixed aspect ratio. I always use 16:9, but only for reasons if I want to have a layout where I want to place them side by side. There are also social media aspect ratios like Instagram story, Facebook post, and so on, so that you will get the max resolution out of what you want to have. Back to the layout. In this case, I can just move. If I drag, if I press my finger on one position, and oh, sorry, that was too much, and then I can move it. I have to move this basically to the left of the two images and this one to the right. So I don't need to flip the pictures actually in this case. And what I do now, I press onto one of the pictures. You can see that maybe here on my camera. I take, this was too much. I then take down my finger so that it is not on the collage anymore. And now I can move it from right to left. And I do that while I'm previewing. And that way, you might know that horizontal movement moves it closer to the screen or deeper into it. And while I'm previewing it, I can exactly decide where I want to have the position of my stereo windows. So let's see if that works. I have the spider in the middle. And now I see that there is a part of the plant in the upper right position that causes a window violation. So I move it to the right until now it's good, I think. Well, the spider is a little bit too far on the right, so I move both images a little bit to the left. So I think the little part of the plant on the upper right corner is now right at the frame. Yes, I think that's fine. And then I press the share button in the upper right corner, export it to the camera roll, and that's it. And I proceed with the next one. You can also save this particular collage, but I don't know why this should be necessary. So the next collage, I always process if I'm on a hiking tour and I have several stereo pairs. I always take step by step through all of them, because that way I'll end having the finished stereo photos right one after another and not somewhere in the process. All right, let's see. I have the garden picture, the divided ones. I have to switch to the vertical layout. This is cross view. I press the vertical layout again, that flips over. And now I go into preview. I'll adjust a little bit. Okay, no window violation as far as I can see. Export, done. Next, the apple. And this is something I do while sitting in a train or waiting for something. Next one, vertical layout. This is cross view. I have to switch, adjusting the stereo window a little bit. Seems fine. Save, finish. So actually, I now already have good stereo windows, but stereo Photoshop Express is also good for post-processing, as you might know. And then I'll not choose the collage function. I'll choose the editing function and open the combined collages again. There's a question in the chat. David, you asked if you could do the cropping both in i3D Steroid. Yes, of course, but I don't like adjusting the stereo window in that interlaced view. I personally prefer doing the adjustment of the stereo window while I'm previewing. And when I do it in i3D Steroid, for me, it's dangerous to lose my aspect ratio. And that's always, for Instagram, it doesn't matter, but for me, I want to have them all in the same aspect ratio. That's why I do it there. And I'm using Photoshop Express for adjustment of brightness and exposure anyway. So if I switch to that app anyway, I can do it one step before. Okay, I use the magic wand here. Yeah, that looks fine already, but I can do a little more adjustments here on the button menu. What I love to do is that I, on one hand, can increase, brighten up the shadows, but darken the black color. And for me, this always makes the picture much more clearer. And I can do the same with the highlights. Oh, the auto function has already reduced them. So I would also like to show you some of the effects section. These are only available in a paid version, but I'm sure there are some free apps with filters that can do similar things. As you can see here, it gets somehow darker and more impressive without getting too dark overall. So this is a matter of taste. I always sharpen them in the end. I zoom in. That's okay. And then I just press the back button, and then it asks me to save. I'll save it and go over to the next one. I want to show you the apple as well, because that can serve as an example that you can do more artistical stuff here as well. And I switch over to the HSL section. And I'll try to make a black and white with one highlight color. So I choose saturation and reduce everything except the red. Well, maybe I'll work a little bit on here. The orange should be a little bit more reddish. All right. Maybe something like that. I'll sharpen it a little.
While Pascal is doing that, I want to say we'll probably have to hold off on questions because we are running out of time and we still have one more presentation. So if you can type your questions in the chat, we'll see if we can get to them after Mark's presentation. Thanks.
All right. So I'm actually finished, because these are my finished stereo pairs that I have now. And if you don't need to explain it, it's going really fast, I think. Again, the link to the article is in the chat, and if I'll go through some questions and maybe type some answers in the chat. Thanks for your attention.